Okie dokie. Welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. We are live streaming today, Members Night for Neumi, right across the globe into different platforms. So we're going to put on a quick timer. In the meantime, I would love to see in the chat where you're logging in from. We're in 74 countries and we want to see where you're from. Don't be shy. And this is your timer for 30 seconds to give you a prompt to bring any members online that are not here right now. Alrighty, if you've just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have closed captions that you can read along with in the Zoom room live right now. If you go and watch the playback on YouTube, you can also click at the bottom of the screen. So just in case you don't speak fluent English, have a quick listen to these.
Por favor, vaya a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Zoom o YouTube y haga clic en subtítulos para leer en español.
Kérlek menj a képernyő aljára, a Zoomon vagy a YouTube-on, a Closed Caption részre, és ott el tudod olvasni magyarul a feliratot.
Silakan klik di layar bawah pada Zoom atau YouTube dan klik caption untuk membaca dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Pour les sous-titres en français, veuillez cliquer au bas de votre écran Zoom ou YouTube sur CC ou Closed Captions.
Zoom または YouTube の画面の下部に移動し、字幕をクリックして日本語で読んでください。
請到屏幕底部點閱隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
Παρακαλώ πηγαίνετε στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης, στο Zoom ή στο YouTube και κάντε κλικ στους υπότιτλους για να τα διαβάσετε στα ελληνικά.
請到屏幕底部點擊隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
אנא עברו לתחתית המסך בזום וביוטיוב ולחצו על תרגום לכתוביות בעברית.
Proszę zejść na dół ekranu na Zoomie lub YouTubie i kliknąć napisy, żeby przeczytać po polsku.
Okay, fantastic. For those people who don't speak English, we now know what you can do. If you wish to change the language, you can do so and read along at the same time. Now, I love Members Night because this is our opportunity to come together. Some people are on YouTube watching us right now. Others are on social media, others here in the Zoom room. And this is an opportunity for us to share some of the best practices in the Neumi world each week. Now, next week, we actually have a great call with some naturopathic people that you may or may not already know involved in Neumi. You're going to come on and talk there. Today, just looking in the chat, we've got people logging in from New Zealand, loving the music. If you logged in late, you didn't hear all of that. We've got Georgia, we've got Las Vegas, Perth, Arizona, we have Louisiana, Iowa, the Caribbean, or the Caribbean, as we say, Florida, Washington State, Indonesia, Canada, Hawaii, Ontario, Indonesia, and Texas. Welcome. Let me change my language to English. Done. Okay, great. So I've been charged with the responsibility of reaching down to all the diamonds and finding out feedback about what they want their teams to hear the most on the call today. And with that in mind, I'm just going to get my slides ready. We have a topic which is something that is probably one of the secrets to success in this industry in a major way. And it's one of the blind spots that some people do see, some people sometimes they don't. What do they say? You don't know what you don't know. So right now, I want you to do me a favor. Put your hand on your heart, put your hand in the air and say, I solemnly swear that if I don't have a mentor yet, I'm going to go find one. Because being a lone ranger in this industry is actually dangerous. And yes, we've got an amazing product. And yes, we've got the best compensation plan in the industry and all that. But there's other aspects to it that will help you grow your business as well. So let's hop into it today. And firstly, the topic for today is actually third-party validation. Now, if you don't have a pen and paper, please get one, because you're going to hear from about 4 different members in the field from different ranks in a minute. But they say the bluntest pencil remembers more than the sharpest mind. So this is one of the secrets to faster growth that really separates the biggest leaders from the slow growth businesses, okay? Now, having said that, don't think that I know all the answers and Michael knows absolutely everything. No, I've had some great mentors and I've learned a lot from those mentors along the years. And quite frankly, the best mentor in the entire Neumi business is Alex Monterosa. Why can I say that? Well, he's the highest income earner. So you don't fall on the top of a mountain. If you know what you're doing, you're the highest income earner. So I will bow down and listen to what Alex's advice is. And I'm not egotistical to the point that I like, well, what does Alex know? He knows more than me. So that's why I'm green and growing always. So what is third-party validation? Well, here's you, right? And the biggest misconception about building a business big in the industry is that you can do it on your own. Now, the question is, do you understand the 3 Ps? And this is some learnings that I've had to have along the way. And the first one is product. The second one is personality. And the third one is process. So product, personality, process. Let me share this with you as we kick off. We have the most effective nutrition delivery system on the planet by a country mile. The most inexpensive, the most effective, the most potent. We can go on and on and on and on. But here's the false narrative that if you think product's going to do it on its own, you're going to be disappointed. So can you just go out there and say, hey, get this into your body. That's all you need to do and you'll be successful. This is amazing. You'll get great results. Yes, you can do that. And if you do, you'll get lots of customers. And that's great if that's what you're after. So there isn't any right or wrong here. It's just actions that determine an outcome. So if all you do is talk about the product and you push the product without any systems or processes, you will get a much higher conversion of customers and a much lower rate of members. And often if you're the glutathione expert and you know everything about it, people go, that's amazing. Thank you for enlightening me. Give me the product. I want to buy that. Oh, I couldn't do what you did though. So I won't join your business. Ah, interesting. So if we complicate things, we slow our business down. Second learning for me was this one. And I say this, 1 finger pointing at you, 3 pointing back at me. The biggest one, I came to Neumi, having been the national sales coach across a couple of thousand mortgage brokers, and I, knew how to sell ice to Eskimos. So I remember saying to Alex in the previous company, mate, I don't need your process. I know how to sell, right? And he's like, well, hang on. The key point here, Michael, is that if you can, doesn't mean people who join you can. And what I found was I became the second highest recruiter in my previous company. And then I had a mentor tell me, don't be proud of that. You should be a little bit embarrassed. I'm like, what? And he goes, well, that's not network marketing. That's sales. So if you can recruit 1,000 people, does it mean you duplicate? Oh, so the true network marketing business isn't just sales. So just because you have the gift of the gab and you go, I don't need your systems, you will duplicate that. And then you'll have a plateau that you'll hit and you'll wonder why you can't get. And this is where a little bit like, if you all had teenagers, the teenagers are like, what do you know, Dad? Right? This is where the teenagers get to a certain rank and they can't bust past it. And because they can't, instead of looking internally, they then jump to another company going, this doesn't work. It works. You didn't learn the basics of the industry. So process is the biggest one. So product, personality, and process. Now, I want to say is before we go further, I'm not suggesting that you downplay the product. And I'm not suggesting you downplay your personality. If you've got those skills, use it. Use both of them. But I'm saying dumb it down in the overall scheme of things. What do I mean? And I'm going to quote an example. We have a Neumi 1, 2, 3 process the day we open the doors in Neumi. That's one of the reasons for our success, because it's the most duplicated process across the whole world in every language. Having said that, process on its own is fantastic. But if you look at another company, and I won't mention their name, but there's a guy called Matt, and we heard this about the second year into our business, maybe the first year. He got online, and I've got a lot of respect for this guy, and he said, I have 1 million personal team members. And I was like, holy moly. Who would like 1 million personal team members? Type in yes in the chat. I mean, give me 500,000, right? And so he then went on to say, but I don't have 1 million salespeople, and I'm not a great salesperson, and I didn't recruit salespeople. He said, the reason I have 1 million personal team members is because I have a system that absolutely everyone could duplicate. So he epitomized what I'm talking about here, not product, not personality, but process. And that's when I thought, wow, we had 200,000 members in the first 4 years of Neumi, under 4 years, and he took 20 years to get to 1 million. I reckon we're going to quadruple his results by the 20-year mark, if not more, right? Because we started from day one. It took him years to work out he needed the system. So that process is a part of what we're talking about today. So what is third-party validation anyway? well, here's you, here's your prospect, and here's an upline. And the idea is that you don't do the talking on step 2 in the Neumi 1, 2, 3 process. You can be the Lone Ranger and run off and try and do it all yourself, but you're smarter if you have an upline involved in that process. We're going to talk about how you do that today. Now, I've got about 4 people that I've actually pre-interviewed just for a little bit of feedback on how do you set up a 3-way Zoom or call? Why do they believe that third-party validation has been so important for them? And so it could be a 3-way call. It could be a 3-way Zoom. It could be a group follow-up Zoom. And I quote this because I know as we launched Indonesia, I remember Jonathan saying to me, man, one-on-one Zoom follow-ups, good luck. We've got, 13,000 people coming in. It's like, oh, okay, good point. So you could do a group follow-up each week. You might have a group Q&A with an upline that you could bring people into. It's still a way of exposing them to a third party other than yourself. Personally, I prefer a group Zoom, a one-on-one Zoom. Why is that? Because I can tailor the questions and the needs, wants, desires, hot buttons, and don't wants to the individual I'm meeting in step 2. But I can't do that in a group. Okay. Now, the other way for third-party validation, if we're having events around the world, is to take someone up to the speaker. Now, why have I got an asterisk on this one? Because if you are given the microphone as a speaker by Neumi to do a blue events are Neumi events that they fund. We're not allowed to mention team names in those. It's a very neutral event for all teams to come along to. There's no agendas other than Neumi's agenda. And you've been given the microphone and someone comes up to you. Our job is to stay there as a speaker and be accessible to everyone in the room, but we don't give advice specific to our team. We give generic advice and saying, let me answer questions, edify your upline, go back to talk to them. They're amazing. So you've been given some power at the front of the room, and it's important as a speaker that we keep neutral when we do that. So out of those 4 that are there, like I say, for me, I prefer a 3-way Zoom. I used to do 3-way phone calls, and it's funny, Phoebe's looking at me the other day. I've gone, hang on a sec, we've got a 3-way call. How do I do that again? I had to remember how to connect the calls up because I've been doing so many Zooms. I like to look someone in the eye, and that's why I love Zoom, right? But on a phone call, second best option. I'd prefer that over a group follow-up Zoom as well. Why? I could still tailor the response and the needs, wants, and don't wants to that individual on a phone call. Okay, so I'm not suggesting you have to do everything the way I do. I'm looking at my perspective from this perspective. You might see it that way. Please check with your coach and mentor always. I want to respect the fact that Neumi given me this role today, but I'm not your mentor, I'm not your coach, and you should always check everything with your mentor and coach as well. Okay. Having said that, I'm going to share many people's feedback today. And one of the people who was one of the first people in Neumi worldwide and was the first diamond LMV team headed up by James Lewis. They were the very first diamonds in the world of Neumi, even before me, before Alex. They just went bang. Within 48 hours, they were diamonds. And so James and I have done a lot of 3-way calls, 3-way Zooms with prospects. It's an important part of the Neumi 1, 2, 3 process. The second one, connect to leaders. So I've asked him, how do you set up a 3-way call or Zoom? And why do you think it's important? So we're going to just quickly hear from James Lewis.
Sure. So we coach all of our new distributors to develop their list in accordance with the fast track plan. So after they get that list, we're going to help them go through that list. And what we do is to tell them when they make their initial contact, that initial contact should be very brief. If you approach in a posture that you're very busy, you only have a minute, and you've got something very important that you'd like to share with them, it does a couple of things. It lets them feel important, because if they know you're busy and yet you're taking a little bit of time out of your day to share something important with them, that is key. And also, when they as they share this information and get that third party appointment to come in, it keeps them from making any mistakes or trying to articulate or answer any questions that they're really not yet, as new distributors, qualified to do. So we feel like that's a good way to help them and bring in the third-party validation. And if you work that on a cycle, it is also something that is very professional in its approach, and yet it also brings it's duplicatable. So it's something that can be built and repeated over and over again.
Beautiful. So there's hearing from somebody who's already become a diamond utilizing that process. Now, when I set up a call, for me, I just want to say I tend to remove the roadblocks. What do I mean? Okay. So if you were my prospect and you are 100% keen and wanting to look at network marketing and you've watched the 2 tools we all use, first exposure tool, 2-minute video, opportunity overview, second exposure, that's what 99% of members do, and then get on a 3-way call or Zoom. If you are super excited about the business, my introduction to introducing a third-party call will be such as this, right? I'd say, look, the second video I'm going to send you now explains everything about what we're talking about. So I've had a bit of a talk before. If I sent you this video, it goes for 25 minutes. When do you think you'll get a chance to watch it? I could watch it tonight. Awesome. So if we talk tomorrow, you would have watched it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Listen, when's a good time? I was thinking 10 a.m. tomorrow or 3 p.m. tomorrow. Which one suits you best? You can then go, well, 3 o'clock would be best. Well, actually 4 o'clock if we could, because it's after work. Yeah. Okay, great. And then I'm going to go, perfect. Let's lock that in, and I'll send the video to you now. Now, if you were keen on the business already, and I can sense that, I would say, hey, at that time, I'm going to introduce you to my good buddy of mine, Alex Monterosa. He's the master distributor of the company. He's also someone who has decades of experience in the industry. I'll catch you then. Now, if on the other hand, you're still one of those people circling the boat, just thinking product and haven't really sort of expressed your interest in business, you don't know where you stand yet, I'm going to remove the roadblock. What do I mean? I'm going to say, hey, this next video explains everything, answers the question you were talking about. If I send it to you, would you watch it? Yeah, cool. Goes for 25 minutes. When do you think you'll get a chance? Oh, I'll watch it tonight. Awesome. So if I spoke to you tomorrow, you would have watched it? Yep, great. How about 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock? Which suits you best? 10 o'clock's perfect. Okay, great. Catch you then. That's all I'm going to say. Then I'm going to text you at 8 a.m. saying, just a reminder, we're catching up at 10 a.m. Awesome. And then I'll go, after you've responded, I'll go, cool. By the way, I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine, Alex, who's had an awesome result on the product. So see how I'm dumbing it down about product with that, because I don't know where you stand, versus business if you're super keen already. Either way, I've booked a meeting from a meeting for step 2. So some people say they're doing Neumi 1, 2, 3. They're not. They're going, hey, try this product. That's Neumi 3. Other people are doing Neumi 1, 3. Hey, watch this video now. Try this product. Missing the critical step, which is third-party validation in the middle, whether it's a group call, whether it's a 3-way call, whether it's a Zoom or whatever. But by saying, I want to introduce you to my upline coach or mentor, that could repel people who are still at a distance. So take away the roadblocks. I'm only introducing, Alex is going to be on the call after you've confirmed, and I'm just getting this mate of mine, Alex, to talk about his amazing result on the product. Now, when I get to introducing the call live, that's very different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that's how, based on what James was saying, that's one aspect of how I introduce a call, okay? Just the way I do it. Not suggesting I know all the answers, but that's me. Now, there are many people in the team who believe that third-party validation step 2 is the magic. And a good buddy of mine, Keith Jazon, Double Diamond, he also is pro third-party validation. So let's have a little listen to Keith and his feedback. Why is third-party validation so important?
Well, you're not a prophet in your own land. I mean, it's the people that you either have an association with or familiar with, they know you, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing. So most oftentimes you bring in a third party, it's like the expert from out of town. People just kind of pay attention more to that extra individual coming in, especially when you get to edify them. You can't edify yourself as far as what your capabilities are. So when you bring in a third party, you can edify them. It puts them in a better light to your prospect, more of an expert in a sense, and then that person could turn around and edify you. So now your prospect will, I guess, hold you in a different light when it comes to the subject of the opportunity of Neumi.
That's beautiful. And you know what? I love what he said there about you'd never be a prophet in your own hometown. I found rarely does your frontline members listen to you always. It's about having a teenager again. Sometimes I get to the point of like, what do you know, right? Because you're too close. So if I need, Keith listens to me because we've got a lot of distance between us, right? But if Keith wasn't listening, guess what I would do? Three-way calls don't end once he's recruited. If Keith needs to hear something 1 year down the track that he's just not hearing from me for whatever reason, I tell him. It's a bit like when the grandparents come in and say the same things to your kids and you're like, you're listening to them? I told you this 10 times, right? So I'll bring in a third party, Alex, and I'll say, Alex, Keith needs to hear this. This is the thing that's his roadblock at the moment. He's just not hearing it. I've told him 10 times, he's not hearing it. Could you weave that into the conversation, please? So he comes in for another reason, and in there we'll touch on something that I know that Keith needs to hear. And Keith will go, wow, Alex is amazing. And I'm like, I freaking told you that. But third-party validation helps, right? So there's not being a prophet in your own hometown. The further you get down the line, and when someone edifies you, then, and own it. What do I mean? You don't need to be a founding advisory board member or a crown to have credibility on a three-way call. You can just be someone's upline. It doesn't matter. It could be an upline. It could be a downline. Personally, I don't encourage you to bring cross-line people into your business because A, they're not paid to do it, and B, then you're going to start something that could negatively have repercussions down the track. So anyone upline, anyone downline, you could utilize those in a three-way call. Doesn't have to be a crown, so to speak. Now, Keith was a double diamond. James was the first diamond. What about other ranks in there as well? Now, we have someone who I love stepped up the other day and numerous times had said, pick me, I'll be one of your presenters. And she does a magnificent high energy job. And that is Christine Francois. So Christine, what's your perspective about third-party validation?
Well, third-party validation is so important because first and foremost, it allows your prospect to hear from someone else. They know you, they trust you, but they're going to trust the value that that other person brings, and that person typically is someone who's successful in the industry. Another part of that is that when you're introducing the person who will be your validator, let's say, it's really vitally important that you do a really good edification of that person. And why is that important? Because when you do a really good edification of your upline, the purpose of that, really what happens is that when that person starts to speak with your prospect, they are in turn going to edify you. And what that allows is your prospect will hear the value that you bring to the team, to the business, and they will in turn listen to you when you say to them things like, okay, now go ahead and let's get a list of how many people you engage with on a one-to-one basis, or however many people. They're going to listen to you because you've been edified by your upline as well.
Perfect. Couldn't have said that better myself. So edification, you can't edify yourself. You've heard that 2 times now. So here's where the Lone Ranger struggles, because they go out there and go, do you know who I am? Do you know my success in the industry? That sounds like in Australia, we have a term, starts with W, ends in R. Won't say the word, right? You're full of yourself, right? So when someone else says you know what you're talking about, it has weight. If you say it, it has no weight. So edification is the magic in this business. Sometimes I'll say to Alex, I need to come on this call. You don't need to be long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. Hop in, say a few exciting things, whatever you feel needs to be said, and then edification, and you can hop off. Thank you. That's all I need. So sometimes it's a 1 hour call. Sometimes it's a 5 minute, 10 minute call, whatever it may be. But edification is the one thing I can't do myself. Now, I thought it'd be good today because, what do they say? A mentor that says, did you know how successful I was in 1985 in the network marketing industry? Well, you're only as good as your last rodeo. And so if you're in Neumi and you're still riding on the past successes, then get back in the driver's seat and do it now. So I am still recruiting people today myself, okay? Still to this very day. Now, I don't put a lot in because there's 100,000 plus team in the team now, but I still am strategically in the business introducing people from time to time. And there's a brand new guy, which is actually Michael Totoka, and Michael's from Sydney, and he just joined the team. Keep in mind, when I hand to Michael in a second, Michael is brand new. You couldn't be more green about Neumi, right? He's been involved for about 2 weeks. So imagine if I'd left Michael to go do his calls on his own with no knowledge. I think, who was it said that at the start? I think it was James. A person who has no idea what they're talking about, it's not going to get great results. So I asked Michael, what benefits he thinks you get from getting a third party on a call. So have a listen to this.
The biggest benefits I reckon, just to help me out, is the fact that I get to listen to the answers, and it gives me, I guess, more understanding and more knowledge in the product, but not only the product, just everything with Neumi. Also, yeah, just more confident, I guess, in knowing all these different questions that people are asking you, and that you're able to answer them really well. And so yeah, and I guess if I didn't have you and I just went off on my own, I'll probably just I'd be lost. They would be lost, and I'll probably have to chat GPT everything.
Now, on that note, we talked about this yesterday. ChatGPT. If you have not booked into Neumi Week, get your ticket now, because we're going to be discussing some stuff about AI. Now, AI is like handing a gun to a baby. If it's given to the wrong person, we talked about this, because he said, I'd probably go to ChatGPT. I had a prospect send me information about Neumi the other day, and it was so incorrect. I mean, a little thing. Some people say Neumi Swish. That's not the brand name. It's NutraSwish. But anyway, that's not a big deal. But ChatGPT's picked that up. It said Neumi Swish, sometimes known as NutraSwish. No, that's not the truth. It's the other way around, right? It's NutraSwish. Some people have labeled it the wrong name, and that's what I'm getting at, is garbage in, garbage out. Similarly, it somehow picked up information from people's sites and invented a brand new product called Neumi Light that we don't even have. Right? So AI isn't 100% reliable. So if he'd gone off and done that, not only that, I said this to Michael, where would his confidence, by the way, that one was recorded because he was sitting outside in the freezing cold in Sweden, right, on holidays. And but if he was given ChatGPT to answer questions, and that was the only way of doing it, how confident will he sound? Not very confident. Where does confidence come from? Competence. So the University of Neumi is being on as many three-way calls as possible and hearing the same thing said over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then going, aha, this is my version of how I'm going to handle three-way calls, being myself authentically based on what I've learned from listening to numerous people on calls. Now, it doesn't have to be a direct upline. As I said, it can be other upline. In my case, I only have one upline, Alex, and then I've got corporate to use. And I'll bring them in for different aspects on what their expertise is, maybe. Sometimes you can have a spa partner downline. If you've got an upline that's missing in action, irrelevant. If it is to be, it's up to me, as Phoebe Wallace says all the time, and I love that statement. So let's move into what more about three-way calls. So what are the top 5 objections or reasons why people say, yeah, look, I don't need three-way calls, right? Well, or why they say I can't book one. Okay. Number 1, poor advice. I think I can manage this on my own. But that's the Lone Ranger. You will plateau, just saying, right? So yes, you can manage your own. I could manage all my calls on my own, yet I still use Alex. People say to me, well, why do you need Alex? Well, I don't. But I need him to edify me. And if I don't use him, you won't use me. People do what you do, not what you say. So by illustrating me using Alex shows them they need to use me, okay? The second one, my upline's busy. Again, don't put the cart in front of the horse. I don't say, Alex, actually, we'll do it this way. If someone comes to me, all my guys that are using me have direct access to my calendar. The silly ones go and say, hey, Michael, I've spoken to this person. They're free at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. Are you available? I'm like, no, do it the other way around. I gave you my calendar. Look in the calendar before you organize your call and say, hey, I was thinking this time or this time, which one suits you best based on what they know I'm available already. Okay, so put the horse in front of the cart, not the other way around. And again, there's another upline, there's downline, you can get other people on the call. Number 3, this is the biggest misconception. Hey, my friend and I are so close, we're so close, I know everything about them. Do you know, I've had people have me on a three-way call and I found out their friend had depression and they've gone, I never knew that. And I'm like, third parties get told way more stuff than people who are very close, right? Sometimes you can uncover stuff because you can be consultative in your approach and ask quality questions. I don't want to push my people. That's a big misconception, right? Now, or I should say, It's either a misconception about what the call's about, because it's not a closing call, it's a relationship opening call, or you have a very poorly trained upline, in which case that can happen sometimes, meaning they hop on the call and they just go for the jugular. That's not what the call's about. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then number 5, the prospect says no thanks. Now, again, did I or did I not say that I introduce Alex after I've confirmed the call? That's why I do it. I don't say, listen, I'd love to introduce you to my upline. They're going to go, no, that's okay. I'll be good. Whereas if I say, hey, when are you free? Once you watch this, you'll have some questions. I was thinking this time or this time. Which one suits you best? Oh, this one. Great. Let's lock it in. Fantastic. By the way, I'm going to introduce you to Alex. See, I didn't say, would you like me to? Or I'm bringing an upline. I said, I'm going to introduce you to Alex. I don't get any knockbacks when I do it that way, right? So let's talk about what your role is if you are asking an upline. All right, there's 3 things you're going to need to do. The first one is set up the call. Okay. The second one is edify, and the third one is shut up. Okay. Let me explain why. So the call. Let's go to the first one. So we set up the call. So book the call time. Check with your upline. We make sure the call times work. That's all good. Now, when we get on the call, and we've sent out the login details, whatever, and everyone gets on, this is where you go, hey, listen, before we get started, let me do a quick introduction. Now I'm looking at Phoebe and Keith on the screen, right? So I'd say, hey, before we get started, guys, let me do a quick introduction. Keith, Phoebe is actually one of my amazing support in the business. Phoebe has decades of experience in this industry. She's also one of the people who was around when Neumi first started, so there's not a question in the world she won't know the answer to. Now, Phoebe, Keith is a great friend of mine. He's really heavily into the wellness perspective, so I think he'll really love what you're going to say about the product. So with that in mind, hey guys, I'm going to shut up and let you guys go for it. And then I press mute. Why do I press mute? Because I know my personality. I am a lion otter. Lion otters go, yeah, I probably could have said that better. Or hang on, you didn't think of this, Phoebe. Let me tell them that. So I resist the urge by pressing mute, and I can't speak even if I want to. Now, there is times where Alex may or may not hit the mark with something, and I know something. I will shut up and wait till the very end, and I know he will say at the end, hey, Michael, is there anything you want to add to this? And I go, oh, thank God. Yes, blah, 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 when he asks me to. Now, why do I do that? If I interrupt Alex anywhere through that flow, what does he want to be as an upline? He needs to be as consultative and laid back with posture as possible. If I interrupt him in between one of his questions, I don't know, he might have been going to ask 3 questions to get the person to go, ah, I got it. So he asks question number 1, and I go interject, and he goes, right? Shut up, Michael, but he's not going to say it, right? And then we're on a different tack, and then I might add something else, and I think I'm adding, but I'm actually detracting. I'm making it hard for him. Now, then what Alex will probably have to do is interrupt me. Then he looks pushy. Who made him pushy? Me, by not shutting up. Okay, so I want to him be consultative. The only way to guarantee he's consultative is press mute, guys. Please hear me loud and clear with that, right? Because I have had, she's not in Neumi, but in my previous business, there was a lady, a couple of people on the screen know who I'm talking about straight away. She could talk with marbles in her mouth underwater in a Houdini cage, right? And on a call many times, I'll be in the middle of asking a question and she'd interject. And then I thought, how many times have I told her? So I would literally boot her from the room. And then, or if I was on a 3-way call, I would just disconnect the call or disconnect her. Then I would ring back her and I'd say, listen, she'd go, oh, he dropped out. I'll go, no, he didn't drop out. I purposefully got you off the call because I asked you, please stop it. And then I would get back on the call again. If she did it again, I'd drop the call again. It was the only way I could teach this person eventually, these marbles need to stay in your mouth and you need to stop talking because you're killing it, right? So if your upline disconnects you by accident, maybe it wasn't an accident. Let's have a look internally and think what it might be. So anyway, that's all you need to do. Set up the call, edify the person, press mute, and wait till the end and then add whatever when you're asked. What about if you're the upline? And please pay attention to this if you're an upline. This is very, 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 very important. Okay, 3 things you do. What are they? Number 1, I learned this from a guy called Tim Sales. Tim Sales is hugely successful in the industry, has been for decades, and he has 3 steps: greet, qualify, and invitation. So let's go back. What does it mean? Greet is greeting. Greeting means building rapport. Okay. So when I get on a call, one of the first things you'll hear me do, even if you've introduced, let's say you've said, I'll use Christine because it's easy for me to do this, right? Now, let's say Phoebe said, this is Christine, she's from the Caribbean or Caribbean, right? Blah, blah, blah. I will get on there and go, oh my God, the Caribbean or the Caribbean, what's the weather like out there today? Oh, it's beautiful and sultry. And I go, I think of what I know in my brain. Hey, is that where they have those pigs that swim at the beach? Where's that? Is it Belize or what part of the Caribbean are you in? And blah, blah, blah. I'm in Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, wow, how long have you been there for? What's my goal? I want her to like me. Yeah, so I'm building rapport. I want her to like me. And so it's important she likes me. It's not important if she likes you. You're friends already. But if she doesn't like me because you're interjecting in the greeting phase, you're killing the vibe. So you need to sit back and let the person build some rapport. So if you're an upline and you're listening to me right now, don't jump straight into, hey, great to meet you. Let's talk about Neumi. Back it out. People don't care how much you know till now how much you care. So spend time asking open-ended questions. What, when, how, where, who, and be genuinely interested in her with no Neumi agenda yet. We're just getting to know her. If you find a common ground in the greeting phase, great example. I was on a three-way call this morning with Prue and Greg. And they're on the screen here somewhere. The guy said he was an electrician because I could see he was wearing, headphones and stuff, and he was on a building site. And I'm like, are you a builder? No, I'm an electrician. I'm like, oh my God. I left school at 16 years of age and I became an electrician. And then for the safety of the wider community, I quit with burning buildings and people screaming and running. And he laughed, right? That was true. I did actually do that. So I found a common ground and we clicked straight away because in the greeting phase, we clicked with a common ground. So think about that upline, right? When you're on a call, ask questions to try and bond at step one. That's the greeting. The second step is just as important, and sometimes they meld together, and that is the qualify stage. So what's the qualify stage? The qualify stage is before you shoot off about how awesome Neumi is, get to know the person. So it might be, hey, tell me a little bit more about how long you've been an electrician for. What made you get into that industry? Then I'm going to go, okay, we're here to talk about Neumi. Before I do, what do you already know? Tell me what you've watched. What's Christine explained to you, right? Have you ever used a glutathione product before? Do you know what glutathione is? So I'm just discovering, what am I looking for? Needs, wants, lack of understanding, don't wants, hot buttons. I'm looking for things. If I get a vibe of pushback on network marketing, right, then I'm going to go tentatively into that space. Whereas if I get a boots and all, I'm going to go jump in to boots and all as well. So our job as an upline is to become good at people skills and starting to sense things. Eventually, you've probably heard this in all professions, you go through the phase where you don't know what you're doing. That's I don't know that I don't know. Then that's called unconscious incompetence. The next stage is conscious incompetence. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I've realized I don't know. And then eventually you get to the conscious competence, which is most of you, if you're new in the industry, are hearing what I'm saying now, I'm going to learn, you've got to ask questions and get to know them. Eventually you get to the point of unconscious competence, which means you know that you know and you don't even think that you know, you just know it. And that's the point where some of your upline are at on three-way calls. So just trust them. I mean, it's funny, every now and then you'll get someone to go, listen, this is, just so you know, Michael, I need you to handle the call this way. And I'm like, 38 years says, trust me. I know what I'm going to do. And you won't have your prospect pushed at any point. Never, it's not what the call's about, right? So qualify is how you become consultative. And if you ask enough questions, I always have my notepad out and I'm writing and writing and writing and writing when I'm listening to your prospect so I can get the hot buttons. That's how I realized electrician. That's where I realized they've never used glutathione before. The guy today on the call said he'd been using Herbalife products. So I'm like, fantastic, right? So I knew that. And then I could talk about another guy who said he was using every form of nutrition known to man. Then he started using our product. He said he'd never had an experience like it. So I could subtly refer to, Herbalife products are great, but they're not in our league, right? And then the final stage is invitation. So when you've had a good rapport building, and they like you, then you've asked quality questions and you are in consultative mode, then it's easy to go to the next stage, which is the invitation. It's an invite to take next steps. So it could be a close. It could be like, hey, Christine, sounds like you're pumped and excited. So the next stage, I'd suggest Phoebe will give you the details. Let's get you registered. Let's get going. Or it could be we're sensing some pushback. And it might be, listen, based on what we've talked about today, maybe, watching Steve Scott's follow-up video, which is about the details of glutathione, would be a good way to get a stronger understanding, and then maybe regroup again and we'll go from there. Or it could be, hey, this is not the last time you're going to meet me because I'm helping Phoebe with her business. And so we'll get you to watch the Neumi 123 training next as you get onboarded, and then we'll regroup again. So it's an invitation to take the next steps. Could be a close, could be more tools. Remember this, I think we discussed it last week. The average prospect apparently needs between 5 and 7 exposures before they say yes. 2-minute video, opportunity overview, follow-up, that's only 3. 4, Steve's video, regroup, 5, maybe try a product, maybe get on another call. So our goal is just to keep holding the hand through each step. And that's the invitation to rebook a meeting from a meeting. So the worst thing I want to get out of a call is booking a meeting from a meeting as an upline. That's my goal. Now, again, if I'm working with Mike, and I say this with respect for Michael, he's brand new. If I'm working with Michael, will I say at the end of the call when I've answered all their questions, all right, I'll leave you with Michael then, off you go? No. Michael doesn't know how to get them registered yet. So I'm going to keep holding their hand and taking them through while Michael walks with me, right through to registration, right through the Neumi 123, right to getting started and helping get it started. If I had Phoebe with 40 plus years experience on the call, I will wrap it up. I'll edify Phoebe at the end of the call. That's the last thing I'll be doing. Oh my God, you're in such great hands with Phoebe. She knows exactly what she's doing. You couldn't be in better hands. Anyway, I'll leave you with Phoebe. Great to meet you. End the call. See you later, because I know I can trust her. So, in this day and age where everyone gets an award at the school for participation, don't be handing the ball to little Johnny when he can't catch, because you're going to kill your own business, right? Now, there comes a point where little Johnny and Phoebe at different ends, you're going to have to try throwing the ball to him a few times and see if he drops it, because that's called growth and empowerment. But don't be silly enough to hand the ball directly to Johnny when he hasn't learned how to catch the first time around. Okay. So I think I've done my slides now. Yes. So as I said, now you know one of the biggest secrets to faster growth that separates the biggest leaders from the slow growth business people out there. So I hope you got a lot out of today. This is one of the Road to 1-Star trainings, which we do publicly. Did you know that training session was already in your back office? It's been there since the day we started the company, but we've revised it by giving you some more people's feedback today. But it is a core strength that you need to learn about to grow a big business. Did you know that if you live in Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Indonesia, we have a 1-star boot camp that you can qualify for starting right now. You're already qualifying. If you, in the next 3 months, by the end of August, qualify as a brand new 1-star, you'll be able to come to the 1-star boot camp in Bali. And then if you've already hit 1-star, you just have to hit the next rank, 2-star. If you're already 2-star, become a 3-star, etc., etc. And then you can come along. Why? This training we gave today is basics, really core basics. The training we do in a 1-star boot camp is the gear change of how you change from 1-star to go diamond and to go crown. So with that invite, as I said, I hope you got a lot out of today. Thank you so much for the people who shared to edify the topic. And if you did get a lot out of today, we know that there are some highly committed members like you on all the live events, and then there are other people who turn up once in a blue moon. They may see the recording of this in the Neumi members group in about 10 minutes from now when it gets uploaded. If you learned something today, I would encourage you to go straight in there and type in exactly what you learned from today's session so that everybody else can benefit as well in the Neumi member group. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening.